All right. Hello, everybody. And let everybody keep rolling in. And so just as I was, so a couple of things. So a couple of events coming up, but I'm going to have to go by memory here. But I was in Toronto last week, went to Yorkdale, met folks there. Beautiful day. Hamilton, we're going to Hamilton this week on Wednesday in the afternoon from 4 to 5:30ish, whatever, depending on the weather, really, right? If it's really nice, we'll stick around longer. It's on Lock Street. It's West Town Bar and Grill, and has a really nice big open patio that we usually take up a good amount of space on. So, and then the following week, I'm trying a new place in Port Credit because I'm trying to get the group that's in Oakville, maybe Etobicoke, like everybody along the lakeshore, Burlington, Oakville, whatever. It's easier to get to. It's right off the QEW and Highway 10. I think it's really close to Highway 10, but right along the lakeshore. So it's got a indoor spot. I'm hoping it won't be crazy busy, but it's got a little bit of a outdoor area too. So that's good. And then the following week after that, the 24th, we're going to Stony Creek. Mark has got a great place out there called the Ridgeway Winery. I'm not sure if I got that correct, but I've driven past it. It looks really nice, and it's really just a drop outside of Hamilton. I think guys that know anybody that know that area from Hamilton, how far that would be, like what? I mean, once you get through the downtown core, and depending on how busy the downtown core is, it's not too far. Stony Creek, anyhow, and that's June basically. So make sure if you can make one of those. And if you got another option, I know there's a few. I know there's a few people along the 401 towards like Cambridge, Kitchener. If anybody wants to do something like in Cambridge is not too far outside of the city, but not too bad if you're west of everything. So we'll see if that happens. So a couple of things I was listening to a podcast recently, and actually just even conversations as I'm meeting folks, just talking about the strain of things taking longer to close, and more involved sales line, deal pipeline, whatever you want to call it. It's even affecting. I was listening to this podcast is about investing. I like to listen to, and they're saying it's the same thing is happening with the investments themselves. If you're investing, like it's really, not a lot of people go into seed investing. It's pretty risky, but if you were along to go into the seed investing, it's taken extraordinarily long. There's some investors not only taking it to A, B, C, D, but even E, F, G, like rounds of investment, just trying to make their way through the market. And I think a lot of the investors are looking for some more certainty. So everything's kind of pushed back and lagging in that sense. And we're feeling it in the sense of a longer sales cycle. So a couple of things came to light for me. One of them is I've had a couple of really good referrals. Linda, thank you very much. I got one from a gentleman that does something similar to what I do. It was so close to like a really, really ideal lead. The client's definitely going to buy. They just haven't decided who they're going to buy with. This person had responded to an RFP, and it didn't work out in their favor. They wanted to continue helping the client, so they passed the name on to me. And I will typically take a client that's a little less along in the decision-making process than this person is, and pass it on. It was a really good lead. I'm digging into it, trying to see if I can help these folks out. So I was thinking about, things like, lead generation, what's working, what's not. And then it came to light. It's like, I automatically said, hey, if this comes to light, I'm giving you 10% on this. He's done an exceptional amount of work on his own, and the sale fell short. It's nothing his fault or anything. It's just the way it is. But if I were to close it, I would definitely want to share some of that, some of his efforts and my reward from that. And I've been on the favored end. I've been received a referral in the same situation. I've also received, unexpectedly when I referred somebody on. This guy was a great sales coach. I said you should try him. I tried them. His way of thanking me is he sent me like a gift card or something like that. So there's just lots of different ways to kind of like in a slow season like this to move things along, or to appreciate other people that are helping you move things along. And the last thing I was thinking about is this is what's out there in the market to help ease a decision. So on that same opportunity, I used to have something called the Canada Digital Option Program, which gave everybody a grant to work with me, $15,000 towards my fees, a really enticing loan, really great. There's an Ontario version of it as well. It had closed the same time as the CDAP. The Ontario one just came up. So it's a grant. For my case, they're going to pay, it's a 50-50 grant where the client will pay 50% of my fees and the Ontario government will pay up to 50% of my fees, up to $15,000 per plan. And they have this next level, it's called a technology demonstration. Well, they pay up to $150,000 towards the execution of that plan, again, a 50-50. And then I was looking around talking. I met a guy at a networking event and he's talking about Shred. He reminded me of Shred. Yeah, Shred, of course. If we do something innovative and it helps the client, there's an opportunity to report on that, get some money back there. So, and then I remember I listened to BDC, Business Development Canada podcasts. They're often talking and presenting. They've got an ongoing loan, something you guys should think about. It's a 5-year loan, but the first 6 months is interest only, which means, like in my language, we can complete your project with before you start paying principal. And usually what that means to a client is like, okay, if it's a cost saving adventure, you're going to get cost savings. You're going to feel the cost savings just as you're paying the principal. Or if it's a new revenue model, you're going to be gaining a new revenue or a new business model just as the principal payments are coming in. So there's just lots of different ways to kind of speed up that decision making or even help your clients move that decision along. And I wanted to talk about that and for us to think a little bit creatively in terms of how do we move these extended thought, these really careful clients along to the right decision of working with you to better their business. So I had a couple of different things I listed in the B2B. You can answer by saying, what are your top lead generating sources? I usually ask for 3, but just give me 2 if you want. That's working for you in this environment, right? In a slower environment. Or if you have, are you using referrals to get leads? What's working for you to move things along in this environment? And if you want to throw in, a good win that you've had or a good lesson learned, you could throw that in as well. When you're talking, if you could do us a favor and just to give context, give it a little bit of a nugget at what you do. We can look up the rest. Just give it a little bit for context purposes in terms of how you're answering that question, so we can understand what it means to you and put that in relation to your answer in terms of how it would mean for us as well. So I'm going to open the floor on that note. If you guys want to, you can do the raise a hand, or you can just wave, and I'll just notice you with an answer. What's working to move the needle along? And it might be like something from Manu. He just came through a crazy busy season, and now there's still work to be had. There's still projects to be had. Like it could be, a different thing that you're doing in this season versus the season before. What is it that you're working on? And just say hi to Dave. Dave, how are you doing? You just popped in. How are you? How's Calgary? Hope you're not getting impacted by the fires. If you got a lot of smoke coming your way or anything like that, or not too bad, is it mostly Manitoba and Saskatchewan?
Yeah, it's mostly Manitoba, Saskatchewan, but we felt some smoke like on the weekend, but I wouldn't say anything too crazy.
Good. We got a little bit of it. We're just seeing the haze come across from, I don't know if it's the eastern fires or whatnot, depending on the way the wind's blowing. It's good to have you here. So anybody who wants to take a first stab at this? I remember we've kicked around this a little bit. We talked about things you do when you're not busy, to keep your business moving. But what are you doing to close those sales right now?
I guess a question I have for the team, if I may, Richard, is we're 15 people here. How many of you have a list of 30 people and you sit down and you cold call 30 people? How many of you do that? And
I've definitely done that.
Colleen, I think Colleen raised her hand.
Go ahead, Colleen.
And Colleen, how effective is that?
I have a running list of leads, and I follow up with them periodically. I have to have a reason to follow up with them, but they are leads, if you will. How effective is it? Right now, I don't have anything specific that I've won because of it, but I know that they are warm leads that may turn into something over time.
So these are the old prospects that didn't close. Are they previous clients? Like what makes them
Both.
put that in both? Okay.
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet that divides them up into, previous clients, just warm leads, some that I've never worked with before, but somehow have come into my into my knowledge of potential. And I have a spreadsheet that I keep track of how often, and sometimes they don't respond at all.
So I do Manu. So there's a couple I will definitely do what Colleen does because mine sometimes are just not ready, right? It's a big buy, it's a big decision, it's a committee that's making the decision. So there's a checking in basically. I also follow up with previous clients because sometimes when you do a project, like I used to have in my old business, it was like a 4-year turnover basically. So if I hadn't worked with them in 4 years, it's pretty likely that they're going to need me again within that time frame. So I would just either I do an email out of recent projects that I've done, and then I call up and follow up. Hey, how's it going? How's that last project working for you? And a lot of times I would get, oh wow, I've been meaning to talk to you, but I've been busy, or something like that, or I get something out of that. It was usually pretty welcome. But I've also done the cold calls through LinkedIn. Those are a lot more challenging. But I find them, they're nerve wracking. I mean, you'll bust a sweat doing them. But I find if you're trying to get your positioning and trying to figure out what's working in the moment, like in this environment they're in, I find those to be super helpful. If you can take a rejection and understand what, how that's helping on the next positioning, because you can literally reposition yourself every call, right? And tweak a little bit, see what works, pick it up, move it. What's doesn't work, drop it out. I found that super helpful, but it's dedicated time, and it may not be, you may just be moving a lead into the list that Colleen's talking about. Anyhow, Pam, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say versus, we don't really, I wouldn't say so brand and digital marketing strategy, for those that don't know, I work with Left Turn Strategy, is rather than sort of cold calling. I think one way we do it, if they were a previous client that maybe, those projects just have been over and it could be for a while, is we, use an email newsletter. So if you have a periodic newsletter, or maybe you're launching a new service that you have, it's a great way to then send an email saying, hey, we have this new service, a new audit that we're offering. Then that can kind of re-engage someone. So it doesn't feel like a cold call. It's really, you're on our email list. So you're getting our newsletter, or we are launching it. Like if you have a new blog out, right? You're kind of just, here's a topic, thought leadership you're sharing. So that's typically where we find someone, maybe like we become top of mind again, or they're like, hey, yeah, I was looking for help with that. So that's one thing I would suggest if anyone's not doing, doesn't have to be a fancy newsletter, or like even if it was quarterly but monthly, if there's something new you have of interest that might be topical to share, or new things happening within your company, again, like new services or new people or whatnot, trends you're seeing, you could share. And then I would say just the referral network for sure. I would say, we work with a lot of circle partners. That's how our model is. We're a very small core team. And so we, whether we're working actively with circle partners on an ongoing basis, we're always having touch-ins, book a coffee, do whatever to say, hey, like, who are you working with? Because maybe there's something that they have a client that they can't do the brand strategy or content strategy, and they're just doing, web development or whatnot. So I'd say leverage your network as much as possible. And it doesn't have to always be about just like a hard sell, but I think just checking in to see where their business is at and any new clients they have, and maybe there's an opportunity there. And social media has also been the other big one. I think consistency on social media. We were at the Burlington Chamber of Commerce Awards Gala a few weeks ago. We were a nominee there, and we didn't win, which is totally fine, but we were there and we did some social posts on it. And we actually had someone reach out because they specifically saw our post on that, looking for some help with some things that we offer. So, which was not the intention of doing that post, but we got a lead out of it. So I definitely say social media is, also if there's previous clients you had, they're probably following you hopefully anyway. So that's another kind of softer sell. they see that you're consistently on social media sharing thought leadership or whatnot, then it keeps you top of mind. So just some suggestions from what we found has been working for us as a small business.
I like all those. And you made me think about, whatever the service you did for that particular client, they often will kind of put you in a box and don't realize all the different things you do.
Mhm.
If you could do like a segmented list of, these are the services that I did. If you know what that next service or complementary service would be, it's a nice time to go in. Like there's lots of reasons to come up and go and circle back and say how things going with a customer. And I also I want to call it like a collaboration technique and reaching back to your network that you've worked with. Maybe you bought them work. What are you working on that I can help, extend the scope of what you're doing? And like, I used to buddy up with other developers and they might be just, you go crazy through this period, right? You buddy up, you can split get the work done comparatively and then help each other out within a sales lead. So I like that. And social media, I've seen a lot of you guys doing some phenomenal posts that I guarantee, even if you're not getting great, comments and whatever, you're getting people that are lurking and seeing it. So I think all those are great ideas. Christina, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Christina Rahesia, search SEO and paid ads. I agree a lot of what's been said. I guess my key points, one, to your point about BDC, I put it in the chat, but if anyone has questions about BDC, I know someone there that can answer any questions about all the great programs. So if anyone wants a direct live person versus online. Fully agree with Eden's point about relationship building and just being out there. I think the more your network kind of knows what you're doing and keeps you top of mind, I think that's key, and being visible. Social media, I agree. It's funny, I don't do social media, but I was helping my husband's company and I've started to now like once a week just post something for him. And via just organically doing that, I received like 2 strong testimonials from previous clients. So it's not them saying great things about themselves, but people have actually posted on the network for everyone that's following. So that was sort of unsolicited, some positive feedback. And then this isn't what I do, but someone I know is she's an incredible real estate agent, but like throughout the year whether with prospects or that, she'll just whether it's at the holiday season, she's like making homemade Baileys for all of her clients. When it's the winter season, she's doing like something seasonal of I don't know if it's salt for the driveways or anything on that front, but it's like all kinds of things that maybe don't cost a ton, but make you think of that person during that time of year that can also obviously be translated to this time of year as well.
I got to pump up Mark because she does some really neat gift ideas with wine, the boxes of wine and stuff like that. So there's another up to. I love that. I totally jealous. I have to kudos to Vanessa. Vanessa does a really nice Christmas gift she has thoughtful stuff. It's usually something from a Hamilton store owner, like something really local. So really cool things there. Go ahead, Miranda.
Well, so Miranda O'Connor, we do video branded storytelling for companies. And I mean, I agree with newsletter more than social, because you can actually see who opens it. And then once I see who opens it or who's opened it a few times, I might send them an email and just try and catch up with them. So it's not really cold outreach, but it's familiar. What I did want to say is if anyone has tried actual paid LinkedIn lead generation, because I have tried it. And it was, I would say, it would be successful. The first campaign I did was for about 3 months, and we did get, I think, 4 or 5 new clients. So that was actually very successful. The second time we did it, I think we chose a bad time of year. It was July, August, and all the responses were all not interested right now. I'm going to be on holiday. So you have to be careful with your timing and, just be very mindful of that. But I do know a guy, I was actually thinking to maybe invite him to this group, unless there's anyone else here who does paid LinkedIn lead gen, I'm not sure. But it's very interesting because I had a conversation with him this morning and he showed us the new platform that he's doing. And it is almost 100% AI automated, and they're having more success than when they had a person doing it. Now, they still have people behind it, monitoring it, setting it up. But to actually, the AI is now getting you to the point where it's booking your calendar appointment. Like it's booking the meetings for you. Whereas when I did it a year and a half ago, it was just getting me to the point of, hey, this is a warm lead. Now you need to take over and book the meeting. So I think that's like, you know, if we aren't all keeping up with it and moving with the times, you know, we're going to be left behind because they are getting to more people and booking more appointments better than humans are actually doing it. If anyone is interested, let me know. I can pass on their contact.
Can we just pause for a second? Miranda, this accent of yours, where's it from? 'Cause
I'm
I'll tell you what, you sound Caribbean, but you don't look Caribbean. Like I expect Dorothy to sound like that.
That's a long story, Miranda. You have to give the short version of that story.
when we have our one-on-one, I'll tell you.
Okay, done. I got to book a one-on-one now. I'm so
Yeah, it's a good
curious.
story, and it leads into why she does what she does as well. So it's a good story. We'll have to. Maybe I'll record it and put it for everybody. We'll do a little talk about it, Miranda. It's a good one.
Anyone
But,
else wants to know has to book a one-on-one as well.
One-on-one.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Watch me a fake
please,
accent.
please do invite your friend. I don't care about duplication. Like if they work with somebody else that does something, it's an opportunity for them to both work with each other and gain, right? Like, hey, what's working for you? Like, hey, let's have a transparent, non-competitor talk. So I don't restrict on based on what, you know, oh, we already have one of those. We have one of those. I think that matters. So feel free to invite. I know those are great tips. Thanks so much, Miranda. Rob, pressure on. I'm hoping something about some kind of pipeline or something like that, but I'll let you go the direction
Actually,
you're
I
going.
think Dorothy was first.
Oh, Dorothy's on there? Oh, which one is? I just saw your drop off. Okay, we'll go Dorothy, and then I'll just have you guys remind me because Rob came off the queue. Rob next. Oh, there you are. Perfect, Dorothy.
Thank you,
go ahead.
Rob. Thank you, Rob. Always a gentleman. So I just want to add some new perspective. Well, not new, different perspective here. So in terms of the lead generation, I think social can't be overstated because with social, you're building authority. We've been I consistently put out content, particularly on LinkedIn. And I just one recent one, and people notice me. And I just got a request in my inbox for a podcast. And this is from someone I worked with 25 years ago back in Jamaica. And so now I think that's going to open me up to a new audience and an audience that I want to go for in the Caribbean. So I'll tell you, I'll let you know how that one pans out. But the issue around thought leadership, I think is a very important thing, particularly now with AI and content. The other thing, I'm going to test it right now and I'll let you know how this works. So I've always talked about my workshop. I have a workshop coming up next week and I'm putting money behind it. I'm going paid and that will, that's a free workshop. And then that will, I'll have the Ascension ladder in place to convert those who come on the workshop into something paid. I'll let you all know how that goes, but I just wanted to put that out there that paid is also an option. You could do paid. So I know Miranda talked about LinkedIn. You can use Meta, you can use X whatever, and you can also use it to book a call. So you can actually have a campaign that goes straight to booking a call. It's more expensive. You can test it. My thing is around testing. Don't be afraid to test. Put a few dollars behind social, see what works, because one thing it will tell you is if your messaging is good. If it's resonating with the audience that you want, it certainly will give you that. It certainly will give you that kind of data and insight. So that's it. What I would say is continue to build your authority and credibility during these months, and consider paid. Consider putting a few dollars behind something paid that you can offer, whether it's free or to book a call.
There was some dialogue going on around at B2B about premium Sales Navigator, or LinkedIn Premium. I think it was Miranda. Does anybody? How many? Just show of hands. How many people use the paid version of like some paid version of LinkedIn or social media or whatever? Yeah, good. Excellent. I used to use Sales Navigator. It's been a long time. It wasn't very good when I used it. It was good in that it found me leads. The user interface was frustrating at best, but I'm sure it's better now. So that's interesting. Rob, go ahead.
First, I'll start by saying my accent is pure Ottawa Valley, so just be warned. So I do have some sales plays that we have automations, but really a lot of our business is very personal. So, and I've got a lot of referrals from people on this call. But to add a layer to the networking discussion, because I know people say, "Oh, you got to network," and like, I almost don't like that word because it seems like a disingenuous thing. But Colleen, thinking about your interactions that you're having, like I really try to use the lens of helping people, right? And sometimes it's like maybe I or maybe you can help a person directly, but I'll give you an example of something that really worked well, and I shared this on another call, but I don't think I shared it with this group. Well, I love it when people tell me that they're hiring or that they need to find a service provider that's not what I do, and then I can kind of put them together with somebody. And recently I saw someone on TechTO, there's like a Slack group, and someone was looking for, active campaign expert. And we could talk about whether that's good or not, but another discussion. But essentially, I then posted to TechTO that I'm a HubSpot provider. I didn't tell you what I do. I'm a HubSpot provider, solutions provider. We do CRM, marketing automation. So I basically posted on this channel to say, hey, we're a HubSpot provider, but we don't do active campaign. Does anyone know someone that's good at active campaign? So it was a little bit sneaky because I sort of was selling without selling. And so I ended up getting a few active campaign people to provide to the person that had asked. But then I had someone on TechTO saying, oh my gosh, we need help with HubSpot right now. And it became a paying client of ours. So helping is great to do anyway. You know, what's his name? The wine guy, Gary Vee. Gary Vee has a lot about helping and karma, and I really buy into that. I love to put people together. So I would say, you know, if you have these meetings, asking someone like, who can I connect you with? Anything I can do to help? Those are good questions to kind of just keep things going. And the last thing I'll say is there was a recent, thinking about doing a LinkedIn post on this, but there was a recent infographic or illustration about the buyer's journey. And it used to be kind of linear. And the best analogy that I saw recently was it's like a pinball machine. I don't know if you've seen that people bounce all across all these different things. And I think that's a similar approach to networking. Like if it could be someone that is a cousin, it could be someone that is a friend of a friend or an ex-client, and you just never know. By helping them, it kind of keeps things moving forward and gets you in the right places.
Yeah, I totally agree. I am a nervous networker. Let's put it this way. So I go to the events, I get in my head, and it's like, oh wow, these people are so much better than me, and you know, I just get nervous and awkward about it. But it has been better for me. Like it is like you never know who's in the room. You never know what problems they're trying to solve or when that problem will happen. And it's just like I totally agree with being helpful. So one thing I was going to say about being helpful is be careful because people will ask you, how can they help you? And if you don't have a quick answer, like I've been caught a couple of times, Rich, how can we help you? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, it's kind of like a waste, right? So like have a quick response. How can I help? Like you almost have that in the back of your mind when you are helping somebody, understand their market, understand how they potentially can help you. So when they do ask it, you actually have an intelligible question, not like me, my mouth dropping down and not saying anything. So I wanted to
add one little follow-up.
Yeah, please go ahead, Rob. Yeah, go.
So Eden and I do this thing where we like walk around our neighborhood every month or two. And I would just argue for like finding your people that you think they first of all, they need to understand what you do so that they can talk about you intelligently to others. But don't think of like regular interactions with people is really, really valuable, even if it's the same people, because it's just like things that, you know, change from one week to the next. It's like, oh, I didn't think of that. But now that you're in front of me, like I texted Vanessa at the beginning of this call, I planned to be in touch with her, but it was just like I hadn't done it. And so it's like you have these times where you interact with someone and just sparks fly related to, oh, it's interesting that you're going to this event. I'll come with you. Like, so I'm trying to get a little bit more formal with some of the people that I meet with regularly to say, I did a little agenda, like what are you working on? What type of work or what type of clients are you going after? And then just 30 minutes and things will just happen. So I'm going to try to do that a little bit more formally with some of the people that I really know.
I've heard about this concept, and you're basically describing it, called the walking meeting. And I was listening to a podcast. My favorite, these guys from Stanford. I did a residency at Stanford, and the professor was being interviewed. And I was like, "Oh my god, I know the guy. That's great." But they would always do walk and talk meetings together. And I'll take it back. So Linda and I did a drive. She thankfully, thank you, Linda, drove me to the last networking in like a 45-minute drive. Maybe it was a little bit longer. I don't know. I learned a whole lot more about Linda. It's something about sitting, not facing each other, that the dialogue goes better. And I have a son. My youngest son is very quiet. Dorothy met Harper. He's like remote, go to the car, put his headphones on, whatever. When I take him on a hike, you can't shut him up. And it's just something about the side by side, not facing each other, that where dialogue naturally happens. It's a very strange event. So something we're talking. I can't remember who was telling me that they used to do walking meetings all the time and stop. It may have been a podcast that I heard. I thought of it in my conversation, but those are great ones to have as well. And I like the neighborhood thing, Rob. Trevor, I want to give kudos to you. I went to a good networking event that Trevor tried out the other day. I was talking to Catherine, who's one of the hosts of that, and how that works. I'm going to do a little bit of you correct me if I'm wrong, but they put on a wine and food event, like a good quality food, good quality wine, invited select people that met a certain criteria. And it was a smaller group, I want to say 40 people, maybe it was less than that. Had it set up for people conversations. I found it very, very good. I did know a couple of people there, but not as many as I normally do. And it was a free event to go to, invite only. They put money in. So instead of putting money towards advertisements, they put money in there, controlled the audience to some degree, like you invited who you wanted to go. And I suspect it was a pretty good, like I talked to a couple of people from that event who already got business directly from it. Like, and that's not normal from that type of event, but it just seems to be one of those things that's working. Trevor, do you want to add in a little bit more detail than what I said?
No, well, actually, much more intimate than that. I think there were 20 people there. The goal was business owners with that had teams of people. So it sort of elevated, I guess, the caliber of the guests there. The price point wasn't too bad from our point of view. It really is a good, and we do it once or twice a year. So it's a very selectively timed thing and not overdone. It worked out well. It was great to see you there. But I think the magic was sort of the group of 4 people and talking in small teams. And so it felt like everybody was talking together rather than sort of breaking off and pairing up and, breaking themselves out of the breakouts. So, yeah.
I've seen that work twice. Brian's last event, it got forced. They had booths at the restaurant, so there's 4 people who could sit there. And I found the dialogue way better than his other event where it was like a cafeteria table. Like, even though there's the same amount of people in your vicinity, the dialogue was more difficult to have because there's just that many more people there. People will tend to let other people talk when that happens. When there's just 4, you kind of feel like you can participate easier. So that's interesting. So when we're doing an event, like when we do these little meetups, maybe we need to like sit so we can dialogue like that, because it can get like, even I'm thinking the West Town. So the cafeteria one that Dorothy that we did here in Mississauga, there was only like 6 of us. Good dialogue, but still at times it was hard. Like, I mean, depending where you're positioning, the restaurant got louder. The West Town Bar and Grill, we sit in the middle of the restaurant in that one there. It's a very skinny bar, and it can get kind of loud. It was like, it's hard to hear the other people on the other table. So something about how that positioning works really well too. And I agree that networking, I find that like there's something off-putting about it, Rob, but if it's just meeting people that, are there with the mindset of like, we're trying to help, I'm trying to get help, I'm trying to help others, I think it ends up being pretty good. I mean, and I would say people that are more experienced like Linda and others that do networking more frequently can tell you how to spot probably one that would have potential versus one that would not. I think there's ways to get around that as well. Anything else on that note, guys? I don't see any hands up, so I'll just, what about going back to the referrals, right? So like, how many people rely on referrals? I certainly, whoop, hands off the camera here. I certainly do. My sell is complex. It really requires some trust on it. How have you, what do you do? You know, I had put that question, maybe that feels like an awkward question, but if you get a decent referral, do you feel like you want to reward that and thank them? And then for me, it's just sharing some of that business that I wouldn't have got otherwise. Have you ever received a reward? Have you received a token? What do you feel is appropriate? Do you have inherent biases against it? Like, oh, that's nasty, don't do that. What are your thoughts on that? Go ahead, Miranda.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in a networking group before, and it was called the 10% Club. And the first rule or expectation was that if you refer business to someone, they will give you 10% cash back, pretty much. And and it sounds feels a little bit icky maybe, but when you start to realize that some people will always be feeding you referrals, but you might not be able to feed them referrals just because of how your network is, then it provides an opportunity where it's win-win for both people. So they will give you referrals and you can give them something back, right? So I think it's actually quite nice, and I've done it a few times. The group has closed now, but it's nice. And I mean, the last time I did it was I worked with a client that someone had referred to me. We actually kind of worked with the client together, and then she moved on to something else. And I worked with the client on my own, and then I sent her 10%. This was like months later. She didn't know I was still working with the client, but we did another project and I sent her 10%. It was just before Christmas. And she was so thrilled to say, oh my gosh, it's so nice that you still remember that I gave you this referral and that you thought of me and you've sent me this thank you reward. Now, it obviously doesn't work if you are working with people in government or any of those other kind of situations, right? Where you can't really give them money, but maybe you can give them a Christmas card with a gift certificate in it, right? So I think it's definitely worth doing. It's something that I do with, I tell everyone that I, try and meet or start to work with, that 10% is what I do.
I have a strange, I don't know if it's my upbringing or whatever, but I really hate owing people things, right? And when somebody does something for me, I feel it's like absolute need to reciprocate. And it just makes me feel better when I can do that. Like I feel great when I send it off, and I, whether or not, whatever, however it's received. Go ahead, Minnie.
I was going to give you my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. So my business is strictly 100% referrals. Nothing else has worked for me. It's all been referrals, but I don't take kickbacks. I've never asked for a kickback. And like Miranda says, it's done wonders for her group, but I've kind of shied away from it because I don't want my relationships to be transactional. I want someone to help me because they feel that A, I can do a good job, and B, they appreciate me as a human, right? As opposed to a bank telling machine or something. So that's just been my philosophy. But to answer your question though, when someone gives me a referral, I feel obligated that I have to give them back a referral. So I almost kind of become like their salesman in the shadow, trying to find them a referral. It's kind of weird. It's kind of psychotic to a certain degree. That's all.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that people have different reactions and feelings about it. Like, it's just like where did that come from? It's interesting. Go ahead, Christina.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I feel like I'm somewhere in between of Miranda and Manu. Is that I definitely feel the same sort of reciprocity of referrals. If someone does it, like you have that much more of an incentive. But I have definitely danced around the idea of like, okay, what can I do like officially to put something in? But I've never put anything in writing, and I haven't officially sort of done it. I've seen all kinds of things. Like I've seen the 10% done. I've seen like a bottle of Veuve done. I've seen sort of a bottle of scotch that they'll drink with clients, like depending on sort of what people are interested in. The one thing about the 10% and all that, I did see when someone had done that in the past, it's just it's being very specific about how it works. Like, are you doing it 10% on the first years of business? Are you doing it on this project in a certain declining scale over future projects? Like, it's just that not having that ambiguity so that what started out as a positive thing isn't necessarily positive.
Yeah, 100%. You need to think that through before you utter those words out of your mouth. And for the last few times, so the gentleman that I actually met at Trevor's event, he just read, and he automatically, one of the first things that I pay referrals, right? I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of an incentive to help me move a client forward. It's like, hey, have you thought of this return? That, like, get that big number down into something else so they can better look at the return on investment. But yeah, you don't want to be ambiguous about it. You want to have it and you want to follow it to the T, right? So I think for being on the receiving end of that and being on the giving end of that, I think that's important to have it figured out before you dull it out. Go ahead, Eden, sorry.
I was just going to follow up on Miranda's piece about, giving back, because I've had some I always like to do something nice for people who give me work. Depending on the situation, they may not, I'm not comfortable really giving 10%, and they're generally the people I'm with aren't comfortable. And the only time, and I guess it depends on who your network is. And I think the only time people have ever asked for a specific cash amount, and I'm not implying this is the case at all with you in the 10% club, because everybody's going in it. The only time, everybody knows what they're doing when they're getting involved. I've ever had anybody really ask me to do something like that, it's when they wanted to double dip and they were being paid by the client to bring me on board. And then they wanted me to give them money. So that just leaves me with an icky feel. So I like to do something else other things that I can do to recognize what they've done.
Yeah, and I think it only works if it is someone like small business owners, like people like us in these networking meetings. It would probably work well for, just individuals who are like, hey, let me help my friend, I'm going to send Eden some work. I'm going to send Colleen some work. She's going to send me some work. Or like, you can't do it with everybody. More than half my clients, I would not even bring it up with, because it just wouldn't be appropriate or it wouldn't work in their situations. But, I think small business owners, they appreciate getting a little nice gift now and then they feel thanked for their referral.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just there's a slightly different take that, it doesn't always work this way, but sometimes when we get a referral, we're actually brought in to work with someone. So it's not just completely separate work, and vice versa. So, we work with some people that are part of this group. And so often we do it for others, and I know some of our partners do it for us, is they give us a preferred rate. So instead of giving money back, they're saying, because you gave me the lead, I didn't have to do the business development, rather than my hourly rate being X for this project, I'll bring it down a bit, because I don't have to even, necessarily manage the relationship with the client. Like, I'm just kind of working behind the scenes. So it's a little different, I know, but if there ever is an opportunity of giving a referral where you're working with someone, then that expands your business as well. But also it can be a kind of a way that you can thank that person and, might lead to something longer term. So that's one. And then one that's softer and definitely not monetary, but I think can act as a form of marketing for you, is sometimes asking just for a testimonial, or a Google review or something. So, even though it's not monetary, like, the more you do that, then they're kind of marketing on your behalf. And so maybe that will lead to another lead. And it's kind of a nice way of thanking if you don't feel good about giving necessary money, or just even asking, hey, could you give a testimonial for that work that we did for who you referred me to? So just a few other suggestions.
How do you, that testimonial bit, do you have a templated email, or is it in person? How do you ask? That's a tricky question too, right?
Yeah, it depends. We advise some of our clients to actually, depending on the industry they're in, to actually put it in at the end of a sale, to say, hey, have you loved your experience? That's more of a transactional. For ours, we usually it's a bigger relationship with someone we've worked with. So we'll usually just ask more casually, whether that, you know, in a follow closing meeting or in a follow-up email once the kind of project's over and things like that. And sometimes if we're updating, you know, website work or case studies, we'll ask people to provide that, to be part of that. We've even asked for video testimonials, and some have done that. So most are pretty willing to do it for you, actually, right? Are pretty happy, and they feel good about helping you that way. And then you're not sort of, there's no monetary involvement. So
sometimes I'm reminded, oh yeah, I could do that. Like, I mean, like sometimes you just need that. Hey, would you mind? I'm like, yeah, of course I would. I would love to do. Like, I mean, so sometimes I guess it's just your mindset, how you go into that, asking, like, and what you're thinking.
And you want it to be genuine, right? Like, I've been part of networking groups, I'm sure people hear before, where it's more of like, you're expected to do so many of those, and it can start to feel a little like ungenuine, that you're like, oh, I had like after the first 5-minute one-on-one I've had with you, I'm putting a testimonial on your LinkedIn. Like, you haven't even worked with the person yet, right? It's fine. Some people are fine with doing that, but usually it's like people feel better when they've actually worked with the person, or at least they've referred and they know someone they worked with has used them and thought great things. So you, for sure, you want to be genuine, right? Like, and feel good about doing it because you actually have seen the results of the work that someone's done. So, but yeah, it can be very effective.
Yeah, I think doesn't matter what you do. The authenticity side, like, I mean, everything actually you do kind of goes to that character, and it's like, is that what they're going to be like to do business? Like, you got to step very carefully on all of that. I'm going to do a quick little, the last one I wanted to do, and we're running low on time, so I just want to get everybody to, you know, think about this. You talk to lead generation, just give me whatever way you want to call it, whatever word you have for it. Give me the top two. And the last thing on that is like, do you actually, which two do you, so I would say, what are your top most effective? Which ones do you actually enjoy doing? Because everybody enjoys, you know, maybe cold calling is effective, but you can't stand it. You know, like what you'll actually end up doing is probably end up something in between one that's effective, what you feel comfortable doing. So I'm just going to go do a little round. Give me two. If you can't think of two, give me one. What will you use most effectively? So I'm just going to go around. Manu, I'll just start with you and do counterclockwise. And you're my top, right? So Manu, top lead. Well, you said one referrals already. Is that the same?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please? I just got sidetracked.
Yeah, no worries. Top two lead generations, ones that are most effective versus the ones you actually enjoy. I like these two, but these two are more effective. Or top one, whichever. You said referrals already.
My business is 100% referrals. I don't get business from anywhere else. So I don't even know how to answer that. Then I do enjoy networking, but nothing's ever come of it.
Those are kind of, dude, like networking lends to referrals, right?
No, but the difference is like, so I guess in 30 seconds is, if I go to a networking event, you meet someone once, it means nothing. And I think Rob kind of alluded to it, right? You've got to build those relationships. So you got to meet them once, twice, set up the calls, and not just about selling yourself like a used car salesman, but actually building a genuine relationship, getting to know them as a human, you know, about their family and what they do and what they like and who are you, right? And I think then it starts to come around, you know. But if you're just trying to get that sale, those people turn me off. I don't usually speak with them a second time.
Yeah,
So,
transactional. It's not a transactional opportunity, but a lot of people feel like they spent the money, they need to be doing this. Like, Colleen.
I walk away.
Go ahead, Colleen. Yeah.
I mean, I think that all the things we've talked about I've used email, social, networking with past people I've worked with, on and on. Like, I wouldn't say there's a top two reason. It's all of those things. And and the changes, I would say it's thought leadership. It's all that stuff. I'm sorry, I can't narrow it down to two.
No, it's good. You got a layer of activity that you rely on. Yeah.
And back to the referrals, like, I actually have been toying with the idea of that. I haven't given them, but I'm actually toying with doing a reach out to people in my network saying, hey, you know, like, if you refer me, you know, but having this conversation like before, do you know what I mean? Like, how would you feel about that? You know, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I kind of would like to pick your brain a little bit more about that, Miranda.
Ian.
Did I say something? Oh, about my tab. I was just
Yeah,
gonna ask
yeah.
a question about the referrals and the reciprocity and all of that.
Give us your
Because
top two lead generations, and then ask your question first so you don't forget about it.
okay, for that I'm actually, I would say relationship marketing right now, which is just the networking and building strong relationships and letting people know I'm out there and getting in people's faces in a nice subtle way. And the other piece that I haven't been doing it well, I think they're kind of even for me right now, is email marketing and consistent LinkedIn publishing of quality content. The third one that I'm working to do more again, that I'm bringing back after many years, is actually doing some speaking engagements.
I like it. Dorothy.
Oh, me. Oh, just to echo.
Sorry, you're on my screen. I'm
Oh,
following my order and how I see
okay.
people.
Speaking for sure. I'd certainly love that and would like to do more of that. And the other one is just building my authority. For me, it's all about value. I think everything else follows. So whether that's through my social or blogs or whatnot, it's really building authority and credibility.
I like to when I write something, I like to include it on my website as credibility for later on down the road, that people that do go, and I do have people that gone through it. Some people don't, but I feel like you're building that up. Linda.
For me, networking. But I'd say the best networking I can do is network with CEOs. So that's hard to do because they're not in very many places together. So I believe me, I've had this conversation with a lot of salespeople over the years. So I actually belong to 2 CEO peer groups, and that really helps because membership in the peer group allows you to display your credibility and your experience and expertise and character and everything. So that's probably the best one. I've gotten a little bit of business from LinkedIn, just from more organic posting and I think a handful of times I've sort of said, hey, I've got room for one more client, and I've gotten a couple of very soft, like, hey, I got a couple of rooms if you're looking for this kind of expertise. Shout out. I've got to run. I got a 4 o'clock call, but great to see everyone.
Christina. We'll just pick up the pace a little bit because I do have to drop off.
You know what? A lot of the same as everyone has said, but for me, I guess the top ones would be sort of that networking, relationship building, and then I'm also part of BNI. So there's definitely been some great referrals for me through that.
I love it. Simran.
I was just typing in the chat, relationships, and then networking events more recently, which I don't often enjoy, but once I'm there, I can get into the zone and make it happen. But it's always a drag to get my butt out the door.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Dave.
Yeah, I'd say networking and relationship building, and just like diving in on relationship building. I've been having like a really good partner in like a parallel or complementary trade really helps. I've been working with my developer. I'm a designer by trade. I have a developer that I've been working with for like the last 16 or 17 years. And it's just been great, like double funneling our sales essentially. So that's kind of, we build a lot of websites.
I think that's a really good one. Find somebody you can collaborate with back and forth, and it takes the loneliness out of the work too. Rob.
I'll just say email newsletters worked for me pretty well. It's like the nurture layer. So if you haven't done that, it is worth doing, as sort of unsexy as it is.
Hey, Trevor.
Quickly, just agree with everybody else. Referrals or good business is a people-based business. So, anything you're building relationships with, I think works really well. So, including this one. Richard, thank you for the group today.
Hey, my pleasure. I can't remember, the screens are shuffled. Pam, have you done one? Yes, you did do it, right?
Yeah, I've already.
Okay, Vanessa, sorry, the screen's shuffled. I'm like, oh my God, my order's lost. Vanessa.
And it's funny. I have a spreadsheet of every client I've ever worked with, and like just all the different tabs. But one of them is like how I found them, and like I'm just looking through it now. It's like 90% of them are referrals. A lot of them are also LinkedIn. A lot of referrals from this group, which has been great. But yeah, I would say that, and then I'm also trying to do more speaking engagements. Although I feel like that might be a slower burn in terms of getting potential leads from it.
I do like what Dorothy and others are saying. It's something about building credibility and that trust. When you're speaking to a group, it's almost like you're having a dialogue with that person. So that person feels a little bit more comfortable to come up and chat with you. Just like almost like when you see somebody on TV, it's like, don't we know each other? No, I saw you on TV. Okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
That said, I'm going to wrap it now. I'm going to drop off to another call. It's been a great one, guys. Thanks so much for sharing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
Bye.
Well,